Hello, I am Mayor Betsy Nash, and welcome to the April 14th special and regular City Council meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with City Council, city staff, and members of the public participating virtually and at the City Council chambers. Please note, public comment speaker time may be limited if there are more than 10 speakers on an item. We will also ask that if you are in person, please submit your speaker cards for all agenda items to the city clerk at this time. Tonight, we have in-person interpretation services available. Please visit the table in the back for a headset. For those in virtual attendance, please note that there is a globe icon near the hand feature on your screen. Our interpreters this evening are Maya Fonseca, Angelica Villagran de Gonzalez, Amada Sosa, Ricardo Delgado. Thank you all for your time and services today.
Buenas noches. Si usted requiere interpretación en persona, favor de pasar aquí a la mesa de atrás a recoger su equipo. De otra manera, si usted está asistiendo de manera virtual, por favor, haga clic en el icono del globo terráqueo para obtener su interpretación simultánea en su computadora. Los intérpretes de hoy son Maya, Ricardo Delgado, Amada Sosa y Angélica Villagrán. Gracias.
Roll call. I would like to introduce City Council members and staff present. In the City Council chambers are myself, Mayor Betsy Nash, Vice Mayor Jennifer Wise, and City Council members Jeff Schmidt and Cecilia Taylor. City Council member Drew Combs is participating remotely with provisions of the Brown Act. In accordance with Government Code 54953 and the City Council Procedures Manual, when one or more City Council members participates remotely, agenda items requiring action will be voted on using roll call. This evening, the roll call vote will be taken with City Council member Combs first, and then in alphabetical order using legal first name, with the mayor voting last. Staff present tonight include City Manager Justin Murphy, City Attorney Nira Doherty, and City Clerk Judy Herron. Next is the closed session. At this time, we will accept public comment for the closed session item C1 and regular item K2 on labor relations. There will also be an opportunity to speak on item K2 when we get to that item later in the meeting. City Clerk Herron, please call for public comment for closed session item C1 and regular business item K2.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on our closed session item C1 related to conference with labor negotiators and item K2, receive and file the report on labor relations. If you are in person, return that speaker card. If you're virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, please press *9 now. Okay, this will be the final call for public comment on our closed session item C1, as well as our first portion of public comment for item K2. All right, seeing no hands or cards, Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. The City Council will now adjourn to the closed session and intends to reconvene at approximately 6:30 p.m.
Recording in progress.
Right. Hello, I am Mayor Betsy Nash, and we are reconvening the special and regular April 14th City Council meeting. Tonight, we have in-person interpretation services available. Please visit the table in the back for a headset. For those in virtual attendance, please note that there is a globe icon near the hand feature on your screen.
Para las personas que se encuentran aquí en persona y desean interpretación simultánea, favor de venir a la mesa de atrás a recoger un aparato y unos auriculares. Y para las personas que se encuentran en Zoom, favor de hacer clic en el icono del globo terráqueo. Gracias.
City Councilmember Drew Combs is participating remotely with provisions of the Brown Act. City Councilmember Combs, actually, we will do this when he joins. So City Clerk Karen, will you please provide instructions to the City Council and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Nash. So for any member of the public who wishes to provide comment on an item on tonight's agenda, if you're in person, go ahead and return that speaker card to me here at the clerk's desk. If you're virtual, after the mayor calls for comment on the item you wish to speak, you can engage that hand feature. And if calling in, you can press *9 at that time. That concludes my instructions. Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. We now have a report out from closed session. I'd like to introduce City Attorney Doherty for a report out from the closed session.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. There is no reportable action.
Thank you. At this time, we are going to reopen the public comment for agenda item K1, I believe. Please, we call for public comment. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Nash. So we will be reopening public comment for item K2 related to the receive and file of our report on labor relations. So if any member of the public wishes to speak on item K2, if you're in person, return that speaker card. Virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, press *9 now. Okay, we are currently at 3 speakers. So this is the final call for public comment on item K2 for receive and file the report on labor relations. All right. Our first speaker will be Brandon Palominos Mencia, followed by Juan Quinones, and then Alyssa Allen.
Hello. So, sorry about that. Good evening, council members. My name is Brandon Rafael Palominos Mancia. I am a water system operator. I'm a water system operator one with the city of Menlo Park. I've been with the city now for about a year and 4 months. Today, I'm speaking on behalf of my coworkers in public works and within the city. We take a lot of pride in the work we do every day to serve the city and keep it safe, reliable, and running smoothly. However, the reality is that many of us feel and know that we are underpaid compared to surrounding cities. Despite that, we continue to show up every day, committed to doing our job at a high level. It's becoming harder to sustain. The cost of living continues to rise, gas prices have increased significantly, and many of us are commuting long distances just to be here. At the same time, we can't even afford to live in the city that we help maintain and protect. That doesn't feel fair, and it doesn't feel sustainable. What we are asking is simple: to be brought to market rate through a fair union contract. Fair compensation is not just about meeting our needs. It's about recognizing the essential work we do to keep this city running safely every day. We are committed to this city, and we are asking the city to show that same commitment to us. Thank you.
Next speaker is Juan Quinones, followed by Alyssa Allen.
Hi, nice to meet you all. Some of you already know me. Good evening. My name is Juan Quinones. I'm with the Public Library here in Menlo Park. I've been with the city a good 27 years, 25 permanently. I've seen a lot of things happen, good and bad, mostly good, thank God. Now, the thing is that the sentiments of my colleague before me is the sentiment of all of us, within the city. We feel that, yeah, we deserve something a little better. We like the work we do. We enjoy the work we do. We're knowledgeable about the work we do. And we want to continue doing it. And sometimes we feel like we like too much, but no like is being given back, if that makes sense. It's understandable that, yeah, there are going to be cuts. We understand the licensing fee that's happening. And I just want to put it out there. We're willing to work with the city to go out there, Sacramento, make things happen for all of us. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Next speaker, Alyssa Allen.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Allen, and I work for the Menlo Children's Center after-school program. Based on a Zillow search I did last night, the cheapest apartment to rent inside of all of Menlo Park is a studio apartment with 1 bathroom for $2,000. I do not even make that much in a month. The improvements we want to our contract are not extravagant. The overwhelming majority of staff at MCC are part-time temps, and we want the option to be able to work 30 hours a week. We want a path to permanent or to full-time positions. These things would give us access to a variety of benefits. Healthcare, sick days, and extra hours would allow various teachers to dedicate times to lesson planning, snack prep, long-term projects, and other things that we would want to do to improve the lives of the children who come to our after-school program. We also want pay parity with the surrounding cities in the Bay Area. For a specific example, I currently make the minimum starting wage of $19.70 an hour. In other cities in the Bay Area, that starting pay is $30 an hour. This would help Menlo Park attract and keep more staff. I have heard too many tales in my short time of how many folks have left because they simply need better employment and better pay. And I hear time and again, when I entered MCC, we're so glad you came. We've been having such a hard time finding anybody. So again, none of these changes are extravagant. None of these things, no one wants to walk into work wearing a Rolex. You boast residents who make millions. We are asking to make rent. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, seeing no further hands or cards. Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you for the public comment. We now move on to agenda review. Agenda review provides advance notice to members of the public and city staff of any modifications to the agenda. To ensure staff is available and prepared, will the City Council have any questions or comments on consent calendar or informational items? City Clerk Karen, how many speaker cards have you received for the regular business items?
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, we just have the 3 speakers that just went at the earlier portion of K2. So no further cards accepted at this time.
Thank you.
Or received at this time. They're always accepted. Thank you.
Does the City Council desire to modify the order of any agenda item? We'll now move to public comment. Under public comment, the public may address the City Council on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the City Council once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Speaker time will be limited if there are more than 10 speakers. You are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it is helpful. The City Council cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore, the City Council cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. City Clerk Karen, please call for a general public comment.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on an item not on tonight's agenda, if you are in person, return that speaker card. Virtual, engage a hand feature, and calling in, please press *9 now. We are currently at 3 speakers, so this is the final call for public comment for items not on tonight's agenda. Okay, we will start with Marjorie Ruiz Hidalgo, followed by Joaquin Jimenez.
Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members and staff, hello. It's nice to see you this year. I am Marjorie Ruiz Hidalgo. I continue to be your Senior Local Government Affairs Representative for PG&E. Please reach out anytime I'm available. I'm here tonight to talk about safety. I'm actually very excited about this one, genuinely. So as I'm sure you are all aware, we use technology, helicopters, drones, cameras, in addition to human patrols to inspect our lines and keep everyone safe. But we would now like to invite members of the public to join in that effort with us. Not about lines, but here's what I mean. So we have the PG&E Report It app. It is available on the Apple Store. It is available for Android. And what it does is that it connects residents directly to the PG&E public safety team. So let me walk you through it. Here's what I mean. I'm walking down the street. I see a tree that I think I'm worried it looks like it's too close to a service line, or I'm walking down the street. I see a PG&E vault. It looks a little cracked. Anything that is PG&E related and I am concerned, I can take a picture, submit it to the PG&E public safety team, and track it all the way through to conclusion. So PG&E will tell you if any other members of the public have reported a similar concern. They will share their findings with you all the way through to conclusion. Now, please hear me. This is a very big caveat to members of the public. This does not replace 911. This is not an emergency response system. If you see a downed power line, walk away, call 911. If you smell gas, walk away, call 911. But what the Report It app does do is that it connects members of the public, our customers, directly to the PG&E safety team and allows them to report concerns in a much simpler way, track it. It's another added layer of safety. I know that our company is quite big and sometimes difficult to navigate. So I'm hoping that this is just another tool in the safety toolkit that people can use. It's incredibly simple to use. I'll say it again. It's the Report It app. It's available on the Apple Store. It's also available for Android. It's also available as a web desktop version. So I hope that everyone hears about it, uses it. I will follow up with an email to Justin and Stephen and get it to you directly so that we can disseminate that information. Thanks, everybody.
Next speaker will be Joaquin Jimenez, followed by Mukta Danuka.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members, city staff, members of the public. My name is Joaquin Jimenez. I am running for San Mateo County Supervisor of District 3. I am the former mayor for the city of Half Moon Bay. I am the son of farm workers. I'm also a former teacher in the Caribbean Unified School District. I'm a former juvenile corrections officer here in San Mateo County, a community organizer for over 30 years. There are many reasons why I'm running for county supervisor. One of them is the status quo does not serve the vast majority. We have a lot of families that are struggling, and the status quo does not work. I want to disrupt the status quo. I'm disrupting the status quo. I want opportunity for our community to have a better life, better careers, economic mobility, better opportunities. Also, San Mateo County coastside is the largest farming and ranching community in the Bay Area, and I want to protect it. Once we lose our farming or ranching community or open space, there's no going back. Think about food production. I visit a lot of the local farmers markets, including the ones in Menlo Park. Most of the people on those tables, they're not local. They come from out of the county. San Mateo County agricultural industry produces about $115, $100 million, $120 million a year. We could be producing $500 million. And I have the interest of protecting that. My name is Joaquin Jimenez, Joaquin Murrieta in social media. Please do your research. I did my research. I am running against Supervisor Ray Mueller. You can search Joaquin Jimenez, Half Moon Bay, about the work that I've done. During the pandemic, I was present nonstop, during the fires, during the floods, during the shooting of the 7 farm workers that were killed in Half Moon Bay. During the tsunami, I was present. I am a person of the people. I engage with the community. And I want to do that for Menlo Park as well. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mukta Danuka, followed by Gerald Moreno.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mukta Dhanuka and I am a tenant in Menlo Park and I'm joining remotely. I filed a habitability complaint with the city on March 3rd, about 6 weeks ago. Tonight, I want to raise one simple question. Who in Menlo Park is responsible for tenant habitability enforcement? Basic stuff like adequate heating. Here is what I experienced trying to find that answer. Code enforcement said they would inspect, then went silent for a month. When I followed up, I was told to wait until the property sale closes. The building department said their mandate is limited to permits. The city's response to my safety concerns was to redirect me to low-income legal aid. Code enforcement finally visited today, only after Mayor Betsy personally got involved. During that inspection, the landlord claimed repairs were delayed because I was unavailable. When the officer called the landlord directly, the landlord immediately contradicted herself, admitting she does not know if the part exists or if the plumber is available. The contradictions mentioned by the landlord are documented on code enforcement officer's body cam from earlier today. 2 portable heaters were delivered within 15 minutes. After months of claimed inability to act, no formal violation notice was issued today. The officer described his role as helping both sides avoid losses. But adequate heating is not a negotiating position. It is a legal requirement under California Civil Code Section 1941.1. 4 additional issues remain uninspected. Mold, a non-functioning carbon monoxide detector, broken exterior lock, and a kitchen exhaust vents recirculating fumes within my unit. I'm not here tonight to complain about my landlord. I'm here to ask the council a policy question that affects every renter in Menlo Park. If the building department's mandate ends at permitting, and the code enforcement treats habitability as a civil matter, what city mechanism exists to enforce tenant habitability rights under state law? California Health and Safety Code, Section 17920.3, places a mandatory duty on local agencies to inspect substandard conditions, and that duty is not optional. I submitted a written document for the record with the full timeline and outstanding violations. I respectfully request that the council clarify who is accountable for fulfilling that mandatory duty in Menlo Park. Thank you.
All right, and our next speaker will be Gerald Moreno.
Well, I would like to address on the sidewalks, the encroachment of this is on Willow Road. I ride my bike, and throughout the city, some places have, shrubs or bushes, and I'd be willing to trim them if I got the permission. But I don't know if that's the property owners or it's the city. If bushes are this way and you have the duck and flowers, I've done it in places I trim them myself if I'm always riding on that sidewalk or that, I think I'm pretty sure it's legal to ride on sidewalks. Is that correct? Or I don't know. But anyway, I would like to know if it would be okay if I trim the trees, or if it's the property owner. If I do it, will I get in trouble? And I pick up papers. I like to keep, this is a beautiful city. I'm moving over here by Willow Road and the 101, and it's wonderful. And I don't like to see trash. So when I see trash, if I have the time, I will pick it up because it just makes everything, it helps. And then wind, I know wind, and it's atrocious in Hawaii because of the wind. There's trash in the shrubs, and here, it's not that much. It's manageable. So I don't know if you're able to answer questions here, or is it just this comment from me? Is it just?
We are not able to answer questions
Okay,
tonight,
so
but
it's
if
just-
you can leave your name and email address with the city clerk,
Yes,
we
she
can
has
get
it.
you,
Thank
okay,
you.
we can get you some answers.
Okay, yeah, that's basically it. It's not a
Thank you.
major issue, but I'm just wondering if I can, if I trim them, will I get in trouble? I'll pick up the shrubs and all. I like doing gardening. So everywhere I go, I try to do some gardening. It's fun. It's therapeutic. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Okay, seeing no further hands or cards. Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. The first order of business is I see Councilmember Combs has joined us. City Councilmember Drew Combs is participating remotely with provisions of the Brown Act. City Councilmember Combs, please let us know if there are any persons 18 years or older present in the room and the general nature of your relationship with the individual.
There is no one present in the room with me.
Thank you. We are now moving on to presentations and proclamations. We have 3 proclamations this evening. The first is H1 Arbor Day. City Clerk Herron, please call for public comment on item H1.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, any member of the public wishing to provide comment on item H1, our proclamation recognizing Arbor Day. If you are in person, return that speaker card. If you are virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, please press *9 now. Final call for public comment on our first proclamation for Arbor Day. Seeing no hands or cards. Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. Arbor Day, celebrated annually on the last Friday of April, recognizes and celebrates the critical role that trees play in creating healthier, safer, and more connected communities. The City of Menlo Park, a Tree City USA for 27 years, is well known for its beautiful urban canopy, which is expertly maintained by the Public Works tree team and constantly growing with the help of tree planting partners like Canopy and Scouting America. We would like to invite Senior Patrol Leader, Scouting America Troop 109, Evan Jamis, to accept the proclamation.
On behalf of Troop 109, I want to thank the Menlo Park, the City of Menlo Park for its recognition. When we planted these trees over the past year, we were rooting ourselves in our community, pun intended. In scouting, we are taught that service is a responsibility that we must fulfill. By caring for our local environment, we are building up the health of our planet, starting in our own neighborhoods. These trees will grow for decades, existing as a living reminder that the service to the community is investing in a future that everyone can enjoy. Thank you for letting Troop 109 be part of Menlo Park's story.
Thank you. Our next proclamation is H2, Earth Day. City Clerk Karen, please call for public comment on item H2.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. At this time, any member of the public wishing to provide comment on item H2 or proclamation recognizing Earth Day. If you are in person, return that speaker card. Virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, please press *9 now. Final call for public comment on proclamation H2 recognizing Earth Day. Seeing no hands or cards, Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. Earth Day, celebrated annually on April 22nd, highlights the vital importance of protecting the environment, fostering climate resiliency, and promoting climate justice. The 2026 theme, Our Power, Our Planet, acknowledges that environmental progress is sustained by daily actions of communities, educators, workers, and families protecting where they live and work. This includes the action of businesses such as 4 Menlo Park businesses certified by the San Mateo County Green Business Program. We would like to invite Nicole Angel, the founder of Direct and director Carbon Cutout, Menlo Park's most recently certified green business, to accept the proclamation.
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you so much to City Council, to Mayor Nash, to everyone on staff for your commitment to the environment, to environmental sustainability, environmental justice, climate action. The city is really a leader, and this commitment is observed every day. And I like to say that, Earth Day is every day. And, we all, as community members, residents, businesses, government, nonprofits, we all need to work together and, protect our planet, keep this beautiful place that we call home safe and wonderful for future generations. Really for all species, not just us humans as well. And it's our responsibility. So when I launched Carbon Cutout just a couple years ago, one of the first things I did was to apply to become a certified California green business. And it was really a no-brainer to me. It's part of the mission of my business, which is supporting sustainability, resilience, and alignment with nature, and helping individuals and businesses to do that. So it was a natural thing for me. And I think as we all evolve to, think about sustainability and keep it in mind every day, then hopefully there will be more and more green businesses. But I'm very proud to be among the 4 in Menlo Park right now. And I wanted to give a shout out to them, to M&M Hardwood Floors, to Mardini's Deli Cafe, American Printing and Copy. And I just also want to give a big plug for the Green Business Program. So if you are involved in a business in the city, in the county, locally, think about becoming certified. And if you want any support, I am very happy to help you and to encourage you along the way. And I also just want to invite everybody to think about their everyday actions. And one of the exciting things coming up is the Love Our Earth Festival on April 25th. So I hope to see you all there. There's so many great community-based organizations that will be there. You can learn so much about how to take action and how to get involved in your community. And let's all do our best to protect our fabulous Earth. So thank you.
The final proclamation is H3 National Public Safety Communicators Week. City Clerk Karen, please call for public comment on item H2.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, any member of the public wishing to provide comment on Proclamation H3, recognizing National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. If you are in person, return that speaker card. Virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, press *9 now. Final call for public comment on our Proclamation H3, recognizing National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Seeing no hands or cards, Mayor Nash, you may continue.
National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week acknowledges the important work of highly trained telecommunicators who provide life-saving guidance and emergency response coordination for the public, maintaining public safety and helping residents in distress and ensuring that they receive the support that they need. We would like to invite Police Chief David Norris to accept the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. And I'd also like to call up some of our dispatch team. So Senior Dispatcher Susanna Fong and Dispatchers Dejana Moses and Chelsea Waters, come on up. So the police department provides emergency services to the City of Menlo Park's members 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, throughout the year, at all times. And during that, we process about 33,000 total calls for service between calls that the community makes to us asking for help and calls that our officers proactively take on in the community in service of events that are happening in front of them. Our officers are also out on the street on patrol 24 hours a day. And so the dispatchers are the support network for that. They support our officers who are out on the street, but they also support those folks who are calling in some of the most difficult and trying times of their entire life. And this is a week that we have the opportunity to support them as well. So I hope that you all will join me in supporting our telecommunicators, our dispatch team who help to serve this community and keep you safe. They are the first people that you hear when you're calling and you're in trouble. They help to settle those folks down that are in some of the most difficult times of their lives. And so very proud to accept this proclamation with the team. And thank you to Mayor Nash and the rest of the City Council for supporting us.
Our next item is special business. Tonight, our special business is I-1, Planning Commission Applicant Introductions. Here to introduce the item is City Clerk Judy Herron.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So for this item, applicants of the city's Planning Commission will have an opportunity to introduce themselves and express their interest on serving on the Planning Commission. The city ran an 8-week recruitment and received a total of 7 Planning Commission applications. Since the publication of the agenda, one applicant, Josh Leslie, has withdrawn their applications to the Planning and Housing Commissions. Appointments to the Planning Commission will be made at the April 28th City Council meeting. For this item, we will begin with public comment and then proceed to the applicant introductions. Applicants will be taken in alphabetical order by last name. The City Council can then ask follow-up questions based on those introductions and applications. That concludes my introduction. Happy to answer any clarifying questions or open it up to public comment.
Please open up to public comment.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on item I1, the Planning Commission applicant introductions, if you are in person, return a speaker card. Virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, press *9 now. Okay, looks like we have one commenter, so this will be the final call for public comment on our special business item I1, Planning Commission applicant introductions. Okay, we have a total of 2 speakers. Our first speaker will be Miko Harris Parker, followed by Pam Jones.
Good evening, Mayor Nash and City Council. I'd like to give my support of Meredith Roher for the Planning Commission. Meredith brings thoughtfulness, integrity, and clear commitment to a balanced and community-centered planning. She listens carefully, she considers diverse perspectives, and she approaches complex issues with diligence and care. And I believe she would be a strong voice on the commission representing all of Menlo Park. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
And our next speaker will be Pam Jones.
Yes, Pam Jones, resident of Menlo Park, Bellhaven neighborhood. I would like to also support Meredith Rohr on the Planning Commission and note that she has been and is an asset to the District 1, and she is very thoughtful and diligent in her research and does the type of things that are necessary to have a knowledgeable planning commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. I am seeing no further hands or cards. Okay. With that, again, happy to answer clarifying questions or proceeding to the introductions at this time.
Please proceed to the introductions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we will invite up Jeff Burks. And Jeff, feel free to just go straight to the podium. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Nash and Council, and thank you for the opportunity to come and introduce myself to you tonight. I'm going to do my best not to repeat anything that's in the application, but certainly you'll have time after I speak to fire away with any questions about it. When I thought about what I wanted to say to you tonight, I kind of tried to put myself in your shoes and tried to think about what would I look for in a commission and what would I think about when I was adding people to that commission. And to me, I think of 3 things that are important. One is that along the and amongst the commission members, there is a shared objective or a common purpose. 2, that there's diversity of experience and thought. And 3, that everybody on the commission work well together. So I think the first part is very easy. I read everybody else's application, and I'm sure everybody that sits on the commission, everybody that's applying for the vacancies, all of you, and probably everybody in this room is here because they want to do the best that they can do for the city we live in. That came through loud and clear, and I think that's easy, quite frankly. Diversity of experience and thought may be a little bit more difficult. Again, I've looked at the background of everybody that sits on the commission and everybody that applied, and it is a diverse group. I think I would add to that diversity, and I think I would also bring something that's not currently a set of experiences on the commission, and that is how decisions by a city council, decisions by a planning commission impact the people that occupy the buildings in the city, impact the owners of those buildings in the city, and impact those that want to come to the city to either redevelop and improve a property or build a new property. I've spent many years in the commercial real estate business. All aspects and different product types I've had experience with. And I've also had significant experience with the tenants, particularly the retail and service tenants that occupy the ground floor of commercial buildings like we have in our downtown. And I think my experience would be unique and additive to the commission. Finally, the most difficult thing I think for you all in a process like this is making sure that you have a commission that works well as a body and that everybody on the commission works well together. Practically impossible to do with 3-minute introductions and a few pages of an application. But I can assure you through my career, which has been focused on commercial real estate investment and development, and also being a senior member of a very large company that ran those properties, that every decision, almost every activity that happens in organizations like that happens because consensus is built and because everybody's opinion is listened to and considered, and opinions and thoughts are balanced to reach the best decision for the group. Unless you have hundreds of millions of dollars of your own, which I don't, that you have no other way to be in that business. You must be a team player. You must be a consensus builder. You must listen to and be respectful of others' thoughts and opinions. And given my long tenure in the business and the success in my career, that's something I'm very good at. That's something I appreciate and something I would bring to the commission. So thank you again for the time tonight. And please, if you have any questions, fire away.
Thank you. Does anyone on City Council have questions for Mr. Burks? No? Councilmember Combs, any questions?
Sure, just making sure I understand the process. And so will we ask questions of all of the applicants who are there?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll ask a question. So I know something that has come up somewhat recently in connection with the Planning Commission has been issues around the scope. In general, the Planning Commission tends to be reactive in responding to use permits and other related planning and development requests that have to go to the Planning Commission versus proactive and looking for programs or policies to advocate. And so I think my question to the applicant, as it will be to all the applicants, would be to explain to me like their thoughts on that dynamic. Do they see it the same way, as in the Planning Commission is mostly about being reactive versus being proactive? And if they don't see it that way, how do they see the role and the scope of the Planning Commission?
Let me do my best to understand that. That's a good question. My understanding of the responsibility of the planning commissioner, the planning commissioners, is to advise council on certain matters and then also undertake, I think, what you would consider proactive activities in terms of dealing with the general plan and things like that. So to the extent that it was within the purview of the commissioner or the commissioners to be proactive, I certainly would want to be to make sure, again, that we are doing everything we can do to make the process of understanding and executing the general plan and anything related to the general plan on as efficient and transparent a basis as possible. However, certain things, variances and things like that, I don't really quite understand how that would be proactive. I think it would be reactive. So again, I think it depends on, what we're being asked to do, whether it's an advice role or whether it's an active role, and then whether it's something we actually physically can be proactive about, or whether or not we need to be reactive. I do believe that, being proactive, being transparent, being consistent is very important for all commissions that are dealing with the public and advising council. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Combs?
Yeah, it does. I would just sort of follow up to make sure we're aligned. As it relates to the current sort of scope or coverage of the Planning Commission, as you understand it, do you find anything sort of constraining about that? And that you would see your role as attempting to do something not in that scope? Or is it that it is your intention and understanding of the role to follow that scope and coverage as you understand it?
Well, I think standing here tonight, knowing what I know, which is only what I read on the website and in the application process about the role of the commission, my objective would be to follow that. Now, after having some experience with the council and the commission, maybe my thoughts on that would change, but I think it's not my intent to stand here tonight and tell you I know how to change the processes related to the commission and the council. And that's not my agenda.
Thank you for the answer.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Schmidt.
Thanks. Thanks for your application. Thanks for spending a little time with us tonight. I want to ask a similar question. I'm the liaison to the Planning Commission, so I have a pretty good handle on where things stand. So I want to ask a similar question, but from a slightly different angle, and then I have a quick follow-up question.
Sure.
So can you describe how you think about the need to be creative with housing production solutions versus the need to align with kind of state requirements and guidelines? How, if you're thinking about those two things, just maybe describe your thought process, describe on how you look at that.
Well, let me say first, before I answer your question directly, and it couldn't be made any more clear than it was made by the people that came in and spoke at the outset of the meeting tonight, that we need more housing in Menlo Park, and we need more housing that people that work in this area can afford. And with that as a backdrop, I mean, clearly you have to color within the lines when you're dealing with a state regulation. However, I think I would be as creative as possible in figuring out ways to get done what we need to get done, which is to build more safe and affordable housing in our city.
Got it. Thanks. And then maybe just in your own words, could you just describe the role in this whole process? How would you describe the role of staff, of the commission, and council? Like, just how do you see those three pieces?
Yeah, and I think that was a question on the application. So hopefully my answer tonight, standing here, is consistent with what I put into the computer 2 or 3 weeks ago. My understanding is staff works for city council, not for the commission. And my understanding is that the commission has certain things that it undertakes on its own, but it is an advisory body for the bigger picture things to the council. So I would imagine there's a way that all three legs of those stools and a stool come together, and maybe it's through you, the liaison, to work together to get done the business of the city, through the council.
Great.
But I
Nope.
don't think the commission directs city staff, is my understanding.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
So I have a question, whether you've had any experience with the Planning Commission as in Menlo Park, and also whether you've attended any of the Planning Commission meetings.
I've not had any direct experience with the Planning Commission, except.
Sorry, I meant to say with the Planning Department. Have you done any remodels, something?
Yeah,
you have any
I was just
experience
going to
with
say,
it?
I haven't had
Thank
any experience with the Planning
Perfect, thank you.
Department since we remodeled our house in 2010. So that was quite a while ago. We also did a remodel of the house in 2005, and we spent some time with the Planning Department on both of those projects. But no, I haven't. I think I've listened in on some of the on 2 Planning Commission meetings online relative to the downtown development, but I believe that's it. And one of them may have been recorded. But no, I've not attended multiple Planning Commission meetings.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
Again,
We
thanks for your
appreciate
time.
your application.
Yep, you bet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next applicant will be Nancy LaRocca Headley.
Hi, everyone. So Mayor Nash, Vice Mayor Wise, City Council members, I'm here to speak to my past experiences with the city, to share why I would like to serve on the Planning Commission, and to share one of the strengths that I would bring to the commission if I were to be appointed to it. So as you may know, I've served on the Environmental Quality Commission for the past 4 years, including 1 year as the chair and 1 year as the vice chair. And when I look back at the past 4 years, I see that our city's climate leadership has been a result of some incredible collaboration between you all, the commission members, our amazing city staff, local nonprofits, community-based organizations, and really engaged and committed community members. And it's just been an honor to be a part of this local leadership ecosystem. And I was so proud to see Menlo Park honored at the SSMC awards a few weeks back with the 2026 PCE Green Cities designation. So that was a big deal. So then the question becomes, well, why do I not want to serve on the EQC again? Why do I want to serve on the city or on the Planning Commission? And what I'd really like to do is bring the perspective that I gained on the EQC to the Planning Commission, because the land use decisions that we're making today will affect our community's well-being for better or worse for decades to come. And I'd like to be involved in those decisions and the recommendations that that commission makes to you all. So finally, one of the strengths that I bring to the world, but I would bring also to this commission, is my capacity to bring a vision into form. So the good news is that Menlo Park already has a great vision. Like we have a general plan, a climate action plan, a housing element, the EJ element, the downtown specific plan. So the vision, in my view, is not the problem. I think the challenges more arise when we think about how are we going to take that vision and actually like implement it in the city. So we have limitations around resources, staff time, money, and we also have very intelligent, committed, passionate community members who have many different ideas about how we should evolve our city. So when I think about how to address those challenges, I feel like we have an opportunity as a city to become stronger and grow closer together as we move through those challenges. But it could also go the other way as well. And I love working on those kinds of challenges. Bringing a commitment to collaboration and finding creative paths to get the needs met for the vast majority of our community, if not everyone. So thank you for considering me for the Planning Commission. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much. Why don't we start again with Councilmember Combs?
Thank you, Mayor Nash. And so I would ask the same question that I previously asked. what's your understanding of the scope of the Planning Commission? And is that something that you see, needs to change or evolve into one in which the commission is more proactive?
Yeah. So my understanding as it is today is that there's a bit of kind of day-to-day, as you put it earlier, reactive business that the commission needs to attend to. And there may be also opportunities to make recommendations that would be more proactive that would go to the city council. I know how that works on the EQC, how we get things on the agenda. There's an annual planning process. But my understanding is that it seems to work differently for the Planning Commission. So I'm unclear how it would be more proactive. Based on the planning commissions that I've observed, it seems like there's maybe a need to do some potentially more proactive work and make some recommendations for how to be more effective as a commission. So I would welcome that opportunity should that, come about through the formal process. And as the previous applicant suggested, as I got to know the commission a bit better, I might make some recommendations for how to improve it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Councilmember Schmidt.
It's going to become very routine here. So I think it's same two questions. I do want to start out by saying I really appreciate that phrase, leadership ecosystem with the EQC. I think that's a good way to describe how that's evolved, and it's good to see. So could you describe a little bit about how you think about the balance of being creative with housing production solutions? Because I think we all know we need to provide more housing, but there's versus the need to align with state requirements and guidelines and procedures and stuff. Could you talk a little bit about that balance and how you see it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we clearly need more housing at all levels of affordability. I mean, I would love for us to be as creative as possible, but clearly if we don't meet the state requirements, builder's remedy kicks in, and then we lose our capacity to make our own decisions as a city. So I think it is an interesting fine line to walk, I should say. But when I think about the challenges, say, related to downtown and the parking lots and hearing from the business owners, one of the things that I would love to see is to find a creative way to maybe first build the parking that is needed downtown so that the businesses don't fold during construction should that proceed, and then build the housing. I think that might be a creative answer to meet both the needs of the businesses and the community members that the businesses serve, as well as provide housing for future residents of Menlo Park.
Perfect, thanks. And then just in your own words, if you could just describe the role of staff, commission, and council, probably less generically, but more how you see it from a planning. I know it looks one way for EQC, but
yeah,
I'd be curious from a potential planning commissioner, how would you describe the role of staff, commission, and council?
I actually have another creative ideas. Can I go back?
Yeah.
Let's see. I love the idea of doing more with the ADUs. And I'm thinking about one of my colleagues whose, I think, wife did some work around, I think it was in San Francisco, pairing people who have extra room in their homes with people who needed housing. So I think ideas like that could help, because I imagine there's a lot of single family homes in Menlo Park that are underutilized that could maybe provide rent for homeowners, as well as maybe a cheaper living solution, maybe find a way, especially if there's, needs, like if they're a senior and they need some additional support and maybe a younger person moves in. I think there are things like that we could do. I mean, I would also love to just see more density and more creativity around, urban, suburban farming, and kind of create a solar punk future is what I would love to see for the city. Okay, but now in terms of the role. So it's my understanding that the Planning Commission, let's see, so city staff seems to bring here's what's on the agenda today. And they lay out the rules, and then you look at that and make decisions about whether or not, the recommendation complies, or the proposal from the developers comply with, the plans that we have in place. My understanding is that the commission is a decision-making body in some places, but sometimes if a decision is appealed, it would come to the city council. In other cases, I understand that the commission would make recommendations to city council. So, and like the previous applicant said, it's not the commission's role to direct staff. That's your all's work. But I think it's important that we all collaborate to do really good work together.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So have you been to a planning commission meeting?
I've watched recorded ones. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Our next applicant will be Ron Renwick.
I may be the only person who looks at a piece of paper instead of my phone on a regular basis, but I'd like to say Mayor, City Council, City staff, thank you very much. Again, my name is Ron Renwick, and I'd like to thank you for giving us some time to introduce ourselves and briefly explain why we'd like to volunteer for the Planning Commission. I'm here tonight, no surprise, because I like Menlo Park. I'd like to help as things progress with both the downtown specific plan and SB 35 regulations, and then also just as time and change affect the development and character of Menlo Park, which I've really come to love, both its walkability, its layout, its amenities, and its people. Prior coming to Menlo Park, I lived in San Jose for several decades. And while I have a lot of love for my time in San Jose and a lot of great memories, some things stand out in marked contrast to Menlo Park. And that's one of the reasons why I like it here, is that in San Jose, you have to drive everywhere. It's rare to walk to a store or to restaurants, and it's not bike friendly, especially for kids. And I'd say, sure, in Menlo, it can be a bit much at the end of a school day to try and navigate Santa Cruz Avenue when it's inundated with Hillview students. But I also love to see it. It's clear that they're going to have memories of a town of Menlo Park where they feel like they belong. It's a place they can gather. And I think that's really important, not just what's going on and what's going on for businesses, but what's going on for families as well. Being a fairly newer resident who's committed to the town, I think I can offer also a unique perspective. A bit of background of myself, typical Silicon Valley type. I'm an engineer with an MBA. But I'm also not typical. My undergrad is mechanical engineering, so how things fit together. It's not electrical or computer science. And I spent a lot of years working in construction and geotechnical engineering, so I have a foundation for how things get built. My career in product marketing is in translating engineer speak to customer speak, so I have to listen very carefully. I have to learn entirely new subjects, and I have to translate that information to diverse audiences. I think those skills will really help when analyzing planning proposals, when listening to public and city staff experts, and then sharing why decisions are being made. I think that's a critical element. Why are decisions being made? So why the Planning Commission? And I can throw this back to way back when I was in high school. We spent a semester learning city history and zoning. And I remember riding around on a bus, marking how each block was zoned based on the types of businesses and the housing that were present. Now, I'll grant you, I was clueless as any other high school freshman. I didn't understand all this. I just had to do it for a grade. But it did plant the seeds that told me basically how a city is zoned and developed or not developed is critical to how it treats its citizens, all of its citizens. And also, because I remember way too much, if anyone is interested in how Redding, California was originally laid out and why there's a north and an east and a south street, sorry, but not a west, you can ask me later because I still remember all those details. It resonates. Thankfully, I'm now at a point in my life where I can dedicate time to participating in this city where I live. Development is coming. SB 35 will affect that. Proposals such as Parkline across the street, the SRI campus development are happening. And I've watched with really close interest how that particular project has adapted. I'm assuming due to economics and zoning and community input, change is happening, partially because change always happens. And I'd love to be a voice in that process to help keep the town that it really is a great place to live. So I'd like to say thank you very much. And I can address the questions or y'all can ask them again, whatever you'd like to do.
We'll go ahead and ask them again. Councilmember Combs.
Well, if the applicant knows, I'll just let him address.
All right. So when I started into this process of saying, how can I get involved in the city? It was only fairly recently based on a few things. And so I saw the openings and I thought this is great. So I looked through all of the Planning Commission notes and the posted meeting minutes as well as the videos. And I did notice that it is extremely reactive. Does this planning proposal meet the requirements of the city or the requirements of the building code? Are the setbacks appropriate, yay or nay? And I noticed a lot of those were like, this fits, therefore it's a yes. Some of the things I did not see when you talk about proactive is some of the things I think we can do. Change is coming, and to another question that's asked, how do you balance these things? Some listening sessions I think should be enacted on. I don't know legally how that could be structured, but to say, residents, what are you interested in? Not just we're going to take the parking lots and we're going to change them, but how are we going to meet these and present the challenges that we have? We have so many acres, we have so much density, we have to move into the next steps. Providing the listening so people can be heard, and then providing suggestions and saying, here's how we need to meet requirements. I think that's something that, even taking this from my background in the business world, a lot of times we listen and then we make changes, but we don't communicate why we made those changes. And that is the key element here, is whether or not it's within the city charter and the laws, and that's something you would have to absolutely listen to. I think a more proactive messaging campaign of why we're making decisions would be really beneficial.
Thank you for the answer.
Thank you for your application and interest in serving. So I definitely appreciate the question I was asking, that how one of the ways that how you might address that. But I want to come back to that and just understand a little bit to describe how you think about the balance of being creative with these solutions, these housing solutions, and the state requirements. So when you're reflecting on what we need in the city and the various pressures, not how you'd solve it as much as how do you think about it? How do you kind of process that in your downtime?
One of the things that I think about is with something like SB 35, and if I can distill it down, if we don't move, we will be moved. And if we don't make some change, things will happen that we don't have as much control over. And one of them, ones I was looking at just last couple of days was there's a development in San Jose that was originally a certain number of units, and the developer was able to change that to I think it was 50% more units in another story because of SB 35. And there are no meetings, there is no review, it just happens and it's forced. So I see it as a large circle. It's the old closed loop corrective action. It's putting forth the people we need to change. It's asking for people to make change, and then it's communicating what those requirements are so that we're not just dependent or forced to just accept higher density where we don't need it. We absolutely need lower income housing. This is a great town. Part of it's being a great town is the average income is so high, and there's just a lot of resources for people. But the problem with that is people who don't have those resources aren't able to live here, and they have to commute long distances. And that doesn't help us. We want everyone to be a part of our community. Everyone brings something. I hope I'm answering the question, because what I'm thinking is we need to move a little bit quicker and look a little bit farther forward so that when a proposal hits it's not something that is just, we have to accept it. I'm thinking of some of the things that have been proposed, like the 20-story office tower and things like that. We need, or hotel and residences. We need to move forward quickly on some other proposals so that the community stays as it is, this bike-friendly, kid-friendly, family-friendly, walking-friendly place where we're not dependent upon massive traffic at certain times of day and things like that. That's where I kind of find we need to move a little farther forward, maybe be a bit more proactive in some of the proposals that come forward, and that way provide a change that still keeps this dynamic of being a place where you can walk to the Guild on a Thursday night, and it's a great place to go watch a concert. I hope I answered your question.
Yep, that's great. That helps a lot. And then, I mean, as you can probably tell from the questions from Councilmember Combs and I, that there are emerging questions about the commission. And so I'd just be curious about, in your own words, could you describe the role of staff, a planning commissioner and council kind of as you see it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think it was actually part of the application, but at the outset, and I try and answer questions both with an understanding of why it's being asked, but also with what I think is, everybody has a role. I do not have planning law or, building codes in my head, and there are staff that actually have those and are experts. And so they propose, here, this meets the requirements, this doesn't meet the requirements. And my job, I think, on the Planning Commission would be to ask questions. Why? I don't understand. Can you clarify this for me? So when I do vote to approve or not approve, I can understand that I'm doing so correctly. Everybody has a role, and the commission votes on, obviously on planning proposals, reports up to the city council, who has control of the city itself, and the staff are experts in their domains to help us make the most educated decisions, as long as we ask the questions of them so that they can tell us, what's going on, why are things matching, why are they not matching.
Thank you.
And I believe have you been to a planning commission meeting, or what has been your experience with the planning commission?
I was hoping you'd skip this question.
Well, I thought you actually answered some of it, saying you'd looked at the minutes and.
Yes. I have not been involved with the Planning Commission. I have not put anything before the Planning Department in this city, done it in other locations, but that's irrelevant, from developing a ADU in my previous house and so forth. But I have not had experience with the Menlo Park Planning Commission.
Have you been to a Planning Commission meeting?
Not personally, no.
Not personally.
I reviewed them online.
But you've reviewed them online?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Thank you for your application.
Thank you very much.
Great. Our next applicant is Meredith Rohr.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for your time tonight. I just also want to make a note of how great the other applicants were in their submissions, and I like the ideas that they had to offer. So I guess that's your first indication that I will be a collaborator. My name is Meredith Rohr, and I want to serve on the Planning Commission to ensure Belhaven residents' perspectives are directly involved in the shaping of planning decisions that impact our neighborhood. I am a Belhaven resident with hands-on engagement through various CBOs, and I'm also a volunteer swim coach for Race Swami in Belhaven. Because of my involvement, I am uniquely positioned to act as a direct channel for communicating the needs and concerns of my neighbors and to advocate for proposals and positions that further the objectives of the environmental justice element and action plans. I think I can be an asset from a community outreach perspective. And coming from Belhaven, we have some interesting attributes to our community. By way of example, we don't have access to a large grocery store. We do not have a pharmacy or immediate access to medical services. So, and also there are interesting quandaries that people deal with when it comes to public transit in our neighborhood. The Planning Commission significantly can impact residents' lives through its decisions on zoning, infrastructure development, economic growth, community engagement, and urban design, as long as it's in line with the needs of the environmental sustainability needs of the community and the environmental justice element. I am on board. The balance between competing priorities such as economic development versus affordable housing or infrastructure expansion versus community preservation, it shapes the physical and social fabric of our neighborhoods and directly influences residents' safety, mobility, access to services, and long-term well-being. As an active Belhaven resident, I strive to have my contributions align with my neighborhood's needs and priorities. With respect to the relationship between City Council, City staff, and the Planning Commission, I am an attorney, and I deal with negotiations. I'm a contracts attorney, and I believe in stakeholder input and trying to reconcile competing interests to find workarounds. That's what I do all day. So when it comes to the interrelationship between the bodies, I'm of the mind of the City Council holds the legislative and ultimate approval authority. The staff delivers actionable data and analysis support. And the Planning Commission provides expert technical recommendations based on what I would like to think of as extensive review, but not lawmaking or legal advice. As a participant in the Planning Commission, I would aim to affect these interconnected priorities, not as a decision maker, but as a catalyst for collaboration. This also involves, back to the outreach aspect, actively engaging with community-based organizations, nonprofits, the large corporations like Meta, and small businesses such as the businesses in downtown Menlo Park through structured dialogue and transparent data sharing. The Planning Commission can amplify community insights, establish realistic timelines and budgets, and strategically leverage existing tools. This is where I think city staff can be helpful. And in order to ultimately drive tangible community-led solutions. To get ahead of, to be proactive on the proactive question. I'm not a subject matter expert on planning, but I can tell you that if I were selected, I would do everything I could to become that. From what I've looked at so far, I think that it's important to know what other localities are doing, see how they're handling the builder's remedy, which I just realized has been extended to 2036. So this is going to be a problem for us for a while. I also think that community involvement and feedback is part of being a proactive when it comes to making decisions regarding development and how to respond to developers who want to make decisions about, who want to provide their applications and their proposals. And one thing that came to mind is really thoroughly review the EIRs to assess the potential effects of a new development. And I think that a deep dive can't hurt when it comes to trying to find alternate solutions. So that is all I have prepared for this speech. Any questions?
Thank you. Councilmember Combs.
Yeah, thank you for the walkthrough. It seemed like you answered the question, or at least you thought you were answering the question. So I think my question is, do you believe that, again, the question you heard me pose to the prior candidates was one you answered in the last minute or so there of your answer?
That was my intent. I'd like to streamline processes, and so that's my example.
Okay, totally fair. Thank you for the answer.
Sure.
Councilmember Schmidt.
Yeah, I think you answered some of mine as well. So I want to take the liberty of shaking it up a little bit and asking something from a different angle. So I know, you're definitely, we've been in meetings together in District 1 and, seen you working in the community. So I'm curious, this is an adjacent question, but I think an interesting one. So with the swimming pool and the way that's been going and the community center and some of the interactions there, I think that's where you've had a lot of energy and a lot of advocacy. So planning is a slightly different animal in that regard. And I'm just curious, to push for something you believe in and to strongly represent that point of view and feel like you're doing the right thing. Some of these commissions are a little more balanced than being a community kind of advocate and champion for something like the swimming pool. So I'm just curious through that lens, how do you see your role and your style and your mindset changing if you were a planning commissioner when you have a little more constraints on you than just being a community advocate? So I'd just be curious, because I know a little bit about you, I'm just curious about that nuance.
Sure. For starters, I would say that I did take the time to prepare a 55-page benchmarking report, and that was a sign of collaboration. That was an effort in collaboration with city staff in order to facilitate a thorough assessment of the situation with the pool. So I hope that is an example that I can provide to you, that I will try to find a way to initiate the conversation in a way that is meaningful and as well as takes the perspective of the city and giving the city the ability to at least make their job easier when it came to gathering data from a benchmark analysis standpoint. So I guess I would say from a parallel perspective, I could see myself doing something similar like that. If we're getting stalemate on an issue in a planning commission meeting, I would do what I could to try to figure out how to get to a meeting of the minds, essentially, which requires deep listening and basically sanity checks, running, different proposals and seeing, what each commissioner, what their perspective is, and then trying to harmonize those different perspectives into an approach. So I guess the benchmarking report is my example of how I would deal with those kinds of issues in the Planning Commission. I don't know if I would have the time to put together a massive report per se, but I would definitely be able to communicate the concerns and reconcile the differences of opinion and provide solutions, or I would say more like proposed solutions, because ultimately it's about building consensus and collaborating on problem solving.
Great, thanks.
Sure.
Going to a slightly different question that I've been asking before. Can you tell us about a time you changed your mind on a complex issue and what caused that shift?
Okay. Let me think about this, because I actually change my mind all of the time. I guess the pool, for example. I was actually originally on the side of the operator. Back in 2022, I watched the city council deliberations and tried to, I took the perspective of, I thought that the city was being a little harsh. But then, the more I read into the situation, I don't really want to go into the specifics as to why I changed my mind, but I did change my mind. And now you see I'm on the side of, and I hate that there's a binary to begin with, honestly, but at this point I have, after meeting and hearing the perspectives of my neighbors in Belhaven, completely changed my mind and perspective of where I stand in the pool. That's where I brought up, I swam at Belhaven. I'm sorry, I swam at Burgess. I've been a Menlo Masters swimmer since 2017. I was a team captain of that team. That team was like a family to me. And so I would say that I was zealously on one side, and now I'm zealously on the other side. And hopefully, though, ultimately, like the Planning Commission, I had mentioned Burhaven and Belgis, the idea being harmonizing the two competing needs into a solution that can work for all sides of Menlo Park. So I guess that's the one example I can give you that could resonate.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, and our final applicant is going to be Jennifer Schindler.
Can you hear me? All right. Good evening, council and staff. I'm Jennifer Schindler. I have been living in Menlo Park since 2004. near Oak Knoll Elementary School. Since November of 2022, I have been serving on the city's Planning Commission, including a term as the vice chair and a term as the chair. Over the last 3+ years, I've had the honor of reviewing and making recommendations on the housing element, the environmental justice element of our general plan, the citywide zoning changes associated with the housing element, as well as major commercial, residential, and mixed-use projects like Parkline, 123 Independence, 320 Sheridan, 705 Haven, Citizen M Hotel, Hotel Moxie, etc. I've also been part of annual reviews for the development agreements for projects that predated my time on the commission, like Springline. So I have been building my understanding of the city's planning history. But I've gone beyond studying the agendized topics on the Planning Commission. I've spent free time trying to learn things that can inform my recommendations and improve my decision-making. I follow housing and development local news and updates from nearby cities, as well as updates published by HCD and the State Attorney General's office. I attend housing-focused events, some that are sponsored by ABAG, Housing Leadership Council of San Mateo, Palo Alto Forward, for example. I've also regularly benefited from meeting with developers who are coming before the Planning Commission, members of City Council who are here, groups of Menlo Park residents as well. With those learnings and sort of the studying, I've really focused on sharing some of those things with my fellow planning commissioners. When I was commission chair, I introduced a practice of giving more regular updates during the commission updates component of the agenda. Prior to my chairship, that component of the agenda was fairly rarely utilized by commissioners bringing updates. And I'm proud to say that now there is a fairly regular report out. So almost every planning commission meeting has some kind of an update or share by a commissioner. Another example of the knowledge sharing that I've brought to the Planning Commission and to a couple of city council members was analysis that I did of the origin of our RENA numbers. Because it had come up in a council meeting, I went about reviewing publicly available information from ABAG and from HCD and developed a presentation explaining the RENA calculations and their data sources, which had been used for the sixth cycle of the housing element. I also found some publicly available documents from Redwood City about how they were thinking about their RENA numbers and how they were thinking about their jobs housing balance. These are, again, examples of information that I shared within the Planning Commission to help improve decision-making and just better creativity, which we'll come back to in a second. This hangs over my desk at home. It's an excerpt or a quote from a 1910 speech by Teddy Roosevelt. It's known as the Man in the Arena speech. And I got this after watching a particularly controversial city council meeting about a project that I believe is critical to the success of our housing element. So this quote in this speech talks about the possibilities of succeeding. It talks about the risks of failing. It talks about the honor of striving. And specifically, it says, credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena. So first of all, thank you, and virtually on Zoom, thank you for being in the arena. Thank you for your service. To the other applicants, I hope all of you find a place in the arena working on behalf of the city, whether it's the Planning Commission or something else. And I do hope that you will reappoint me to the Planning Commission so that I can stay in the arena with my fellow commissioners and with you.
Thank you. Councilmember Combs, would you like to start us off?
Thank you, Commissioner, for the walkthrough of your experience on the Planning Commission. I'd pose the question to you that I posed to the other applicants, and it's general, like sort of your understanding of the scope of the Planning Commission in connection of reactive items versus items that might be described more as proactive. And is it your sense that that balance or that approach is something that should be changed?
Yeah. So I think I would love to answer that question and also merge it with Councilmember Schmidt's question about creativity, if I may. You guys can judge whether I've done it successfully. I think that the Planning Commission has a very prescribed role in advancing the city's goals. So things that are things for which the Planning Commission is named as a responsible party in the housing element, things that are regularly added to the agenda. So I guess you could describe those as things to which the Planning Commission is reactive, but I think it's actually more just, yes, it's prescribed and defined. We look at zoning. We look at specific use permits and variances for particular developments. But there is an opportunity for leadership and for creativity within those sort of prescribed projects and within those very specific prescribed responsibilities. So when I was giving you my introduction, I described some of the things that I've done to educate myself and learning what's going on in the state, learning what's going on locally, talking to developers, talking to residents. And I think by having deeper understanding from a variety of different perspectives, Planning Commission can be proactive and creative within these prescribed rules that we have. An example that came up last night when we were discussing zoning ordinances related to ADUs, there were a number of places where I think the commission discussed creative ways of advancing the city's goals to have more housing and more specifically, more affordable housing. There were examples where staff had come up with a specifically creative example for advancing housing for specific needs. In this case, it was for accessible housing. And I don't think that, so I think the sort of distinction between proactive and reactive doesn't necessarily mean there's no opportunity for creativity. Councilmember Combs, I also hypothesize that you're asking a question of whether the sort of prescribed role could or should be expanded. Is that an accurate interpretation of your question?
I'll let you interpret it that way because you have an answer to that interpretation. So I'm interested in hearing the answer.
Yeah, I think that the individuals who are currently on the Planning Commission there are folks who have a particular passion for going beyond the prescribed role. And I would like to see a dialogue between council and the Planning Commission and staff about where there are opportunities for folks who have the bandwidth and the inclination and the skill set to potentially be more involved in, for example, the programs in the housing element that name the Planning Commission. So there are, 16, 18 different programs in the housing element that name the Planning Commission as one of the responsible parties. And I think there could be a handful of those programs where the Planning Commission, with guidance from staff and guidance from council, could play a different role, an additional role than perhaps has happened in the past.
Thanks. Oh, yeah.
Councilmember Combs, it looked like you were going to say something else, please.
Thank you for the answer.
Thanks for that. So I'm glad you went last because I think you interpreted my questions were built on some of the more recent things that happened, including our marathon session last night at planning. But I want to start out by saying something that I know a number of folks feel about just a deep admiration for the way that you serve, one, that you're serving, but two, the way that you serve and the amount of work. And I have a unique perspective being the liaison to the Planning Commission because I get to spend time with all of the commissioners. And I really appreciate firsthand the deliberative way that you approach things, the collegial way you approach things. And you know, I remember the RENA numbers as well, actually helping educate us on things that we're wrestling with and how RENA is allocated. That's just one example of how RENA is allocated and the pressures that, the pressures that we're facing kind of downstream of the process that you're involved in. So I want to start by saying, I really appreciate that because if I look at the way anyone serves, I think you're an amazing example of somebody that I would love to see more of that service. I have a hard time because I think you answered most of my questions, and I think you anticipated a couple of questions that I was going to pivot to. So maybe well, I do though. If you had to pick one, you sort of anticipated the questions, but I'll get to the specific. If you had to pick one thing about what you know where we are now with the commission and with some of these things that are happening, you allude to it, but like, what would be the one thing you would pick over the next 6 months that you think would move everything forward? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious about your perspective on what you think would help us make progress with all the things that we're talking about.
I think I'm going to answer that. So first of all, Councilmember Schmidt, thank you. I really appreciate your kind words. I take this role seriously and passionately. This is, a set of topics that I care deeply about, a set of people that I care deeply about. My fellow commissioners are inspiring to me at every meeting, even and potentially especially when we're disagreeing. So thank you for the recognition. I enjoy being in the arena. I have also learned to kill a cocktail party in less than 3 minutes by discussing zoning. So I hope everyone has the opportunity to develop that skill. My answer to your question is probably going to lean into my appreciation for how long it takes to create change. And if I were going to try and pick something that moved the needle meaningfully, like to the tune of hundreds of housing units, and I were going to think about the action that I could take in the next 6 months, it would probably be some conversations with developers who have yet to submit, to understand where their sensitivities were, to understand what it is that they're thinking about, whether that's topics related to things the city has control over or things the city doesn't have control over, like financing. But when I think about the topic that comes up most frequently, passionately at the Planning Commission, it's about helping us hit our housing numbers, helping us do our fair share to relieve the housing deficit in the state of California and make our community a better place for the people who are already here and the people who could come here, right? That's the topic that comes up. And I think we need to start with strategy, and then you need the tactics of zoning, and then you need the specific projects. So if I were going to look for something that I could meaningfully do in the next 6 months, that's where I would go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
City Clerk Karen, is there anything else that, okay, we will be moving on.
Continue.
Thank you so much to all the applicants, and it's really an amazing pool of applications. So it will be a interesting discussion in 2 weeks. Thank you
Mayor
so much.
Nash,
Yes,
may I
please.
say something really quickly?
Yes.
Appreciate it. And yeah, I also want to echo the thank you to all of the applicants. Having served, I do think this is an important moment to have at least from my perspective, sharing transparently where I'm coming from, having served on the Planning Commission for 4 years. Words sort of like creativity and passion weren't the bedrock of how that role has been traditionally viewed in Menlo Park. And so what I want to say is my concern is that at the moment there seems to be impossibly a disconnect and stuck in the middle as staff, as some commissioners may look to exercise that creativity. Has this gotten a green light from council? And so to my colleagues, I would say that like if there is a desire right now, again, I don't think, and we certainly can question staff to see their perspective, that there is a broad role outside of those prescribed duties for the Planning Commission. And if it is the desire to see that changed, then I think that is a discussion for council to have. At the moment, I think we're in a scenario where there is pressure being put to staff and they're being put in an unenviable position. And so that was just using these candidate sessions as an opportunity to share out again. The Planning Commission role can be whatever we want it to be, but I think we have to acknowledge that if there is a desire to change it, then that change should come from council, making that very specific decision and giving that direction to staff about what something like creativity actually means. And it's probably not an ideal scenario, which is what I think I've seen of the commission or some commissioners to push the staff in connection with why the role is as it is. And so wanted to share my perspective. Again, that's not in relation to any specific candidate who is pursuing an appointment to the Planning Commission. But I do think it's an important important to have a transparent discussion, and that discussion be owned and the decision making be owned by council.
Thank you, Councilmember Combs. And I would agree that is a council decision at some point if we decide to do anything, and that nothing has been certainly brought to council or approved as a full council at this time. So at this point, we will move on with the meeting to the consent calendar. Under the consent calendar, the City Council may take action to approve routine business items in one motion unless a City Council member, city staff member, or a member of the public requests that an item be discussed or continued to a later date. City Clerk Karen, do we have any public comments on the consent calendar?
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, any member of the public who wishes to provide comment on consent calendar items J1, City Council meeting minutes, J2, the resolution to reduce utility users tax, and J3, an for the Bay and Pierce Roads Improvement Project. If you are in person, return that speaker card. Virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, press star 9 now. Final call for public comment on our consent calendar items J1, J2, and J3. Seeing none, Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second on the table to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. City Clerk Karen, could you please state the motion and call for a vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Nash. So we do have a motion on the table by City Councilmember Taylor and a second by Vice Mayor Wise to approve the consent calendar. Any further City Council question or discussion? Seeing none, by roll call vote, City Councilmember Combs.
Yes.
City Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
City Councilmember Schmidt.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Nash.
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is regular business. Under regular business, the City Council considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require City Council approval. The first regular business item is K1, introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 5.80 Massage Businesses of Title 5 Business Licenses and Regulations of the City of Menlo Park Municipal Code relating to the regulation of massage businesses. Here to introduce the item is Police Commander Tony Dixon.
Good evening, Mayor Nash, members of the council. I'm here presenting on, like you just said, regular business item K1, introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 5.80 of Title 5 of the City of Menlo Park's Municipal Code relating to the regulation of massage businesses. I'll start off with a little background on the proposed ordinance. In 2012 and 2014, the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors adopted an amendment to the San Mateo County Massage Businesses Ordinance. The amendment established clear operational standards and updated rules for hearings and appeals and restricted business transfers during penalties. At this point in time, all other jurisdictions in San Mateo County with substantial commercial areas have adopted the model ordinance that I'm presenting to you tonight. The purpose of the proposed ordinance is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare by providing the orderly regulation of massage therapy services, discouraging prostitution and related illegal activities carried on under the guise of massage therapy, and to establish certain sanitation, health, and operational standards for massage businesses. Some keys to the proposed ordinance requirements: all individuals practicing massage therapy for compensation be certified massage practitioners by the California Massage Therapy Council, and that all businesses that provide massage therapy for compensation employ only CAMTC certified massage practitioners and also obtain a valid City of Menlo Park registration certificate. Other key provisions include miscellaneous operating and physical establishment requirements that are not currently set in our own ordinance. The California Massage Therapy Council is a private nonprofit public benefit corporation with tax exempt status that seeks to protect the public and elevate the profession. They issue voluntary certifications to massage professionals that meet the requirements established in California Business and Professions Code, Section 4604. Since publishing the agenda, there's been an update for a typographical change to Section 5.80.020 subsection H of the ordinance that removes this term Department of Environmental Health. Tonight, it's our recommendation that the City Council introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 5.80 of Title 5 of the Menlo Park Municipal Code relating to the regulation of massage businesses. And that is all I have, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. At this time, let's call for public comment, please.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, any member of the public wishing to provide comment on regular business item K1 related to an ordinance adding a chapter to the municipal code for massage businesses. If you are in person, return that speaker card. Virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, please press *9 now. This will be the final call for public comment on regular business item K1 for a massage business ordinance. Seeing no hands or cards, Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. I would now like it to open it up for council discussion. Are there? All right. I have one question, and that is that we received an email from the California Massage Schools Association saying that because there is no longer, or actually, I guess currently the FBI has paused the certification. And so I'm wondering how, here we go. New applicants cannot be certified until FBI background checks are restored. I am assuming that we would go ahead with this and that that's affecting, actually, would you please talk to that point?
So I contacted the California Massage Therapy Council yesterday. It is correct that they are no longer participating with the FBI portion of the background checks during fingerprinting process. They are still doing the DOJ, which checks California, not nationwide. It's my understanding that that's a decision that was made by the FBI and not the California Massage Therapy Council. But once they're still processing applications and issuing certifications based on their rules as they sit right now.
So that would not affect what we need to put this in place, and then that would not affect how people are certified at this time, or if it would just be a change to how people are certified, and there's no need to change the ordinance.
Correct. It's only a change in their process for which they issue certifications based upon their guidelines. They've removed the FBI portion in their literature already.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions, comments? Councilmember Schmidt.
Thank you for the presentation. This one seemed pretty straight down the line, but I just want to verify a couple things and ask a question. So it seems like this is primarily a harmonization effort across the county. Is that the cleanest way to kind of read this? It's initiated by the county. It's harmonizing across the different jurisdictions.
That's correct. They provided a model ordinance in which each of the individual jurisdictions are able to modify to better suit each need.
Great. And that was my question is, I couldn't really tell if there was much variance because I think I don't know the county code well enough, but were there any variances for us? And was there anything in the county stuff that made the department or the team uncomfortable and that we changed relative to what the county put forward?
There was two specific things that come to mind with regard to discussions with what Pacifica had in their ordinance versus, and then also whether or not we were going to allow home habitation massage businesses. But again, most of those decisions were made consistent with what the other agencies have done already.
Great, thank you.
All right, is there a motion and a second on the table?
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. So I have a motion on the floor by City Council Member Taylor and a second by Vice Mayor Wise to introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 5.80 Massage Businesses of Title 5 Business Licenses and Regulations of the Menlo Park Municipal Code relating to the regulation of massage businesses. Any further City Council question or discussion? Seeing none, by roll call vote, City Council Member Combs?
Yes.
City Council Member Taylor?
Yes.
City Council Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Nash?
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. The second regular business item is K2, receive and file a report on labor relations and receive public input on upcoming labor negotiations with Service Employees International Union Local 521, Service Employees International Union Local 521 Temporary Employees Unit, and American Federation of State and County and Municipal Employees Local 829. Here to introduce the item is Administrative Services Director Brittany Mello.
Good evening, City Council. The item before you this evening is a procedural item to help increase public awareness and input into the labor negotiations process. The city is preparing to negotiate successor labor agreements with 3 bargaining units: our Service Employees International Union, or SEIU, the SEIU Temporary Employee Unit, and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, or AFSCME. The terms of the current SEIU and AFSCME agreements end on June 30th, whereas the SEIU Temporary Employees Unit term ended October 2011. SEIU has indicated that they are seeking to combine the agreement for the benefited full and part-time staff with the agreement for the temporary employees as part of these negotiations. SEIU represents non-sworn frontline personnel in all of our city departments. They have 77 diverse job classifications, from office assistant to maintenance worker to communication dispatcher. I know we recognized some of those folks earlier this evening. And they have 156.25 full-time equivalent positions in this year's fiscal budget. They also represent about 100 temporary employees, most of which work in our library and community services department. AFSCME represents our non-sworn supervisors across city departments. They have 31 diverse job classifications, such as permit manager, and 51.75 full-time equivalent positions in the budget. But the staff report and attachments outline the different cost breakdown of wages and benefits that SEIU and AFSCME employees have in their current labor agreements. It also outlines the different roles of those that are involved in the negotiations process. Staff will be coordinating negotiations over the next few months and receiving direction from City Council in closed session. Once tentative agreement is reached with SEIU or AFSCME, the proposed agreement would be brought back to the City Council in open session for consideration. We are targeting the June 23rd City Council meeting or earlier in hopes of reaching agreement prior to the terms expiring June 30th. The timing will depend on how the negotiations progress. That concludes my brief overview, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. City Clerk Karen, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on regular business item K2 related to labor relations, if you are in person, return that speaker card. Virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, please press *9 now. This will be the final call for public comment on regular business item K2 related to file a report on labor relations and labor negotiations. Okay, seeing no hands or cards, Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. I would now like to open for City Council questions and discussion. All right, then let's go to a motion and a second on the.
Oh, I'm happy to make a motion.
All right, and I will second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor by City Councilmember Schmidt and a second by Mayor Nash to approve to receive and file the report on labor relations and received public comment on upcoming labor negotiations with SEIU, SEIU again for temporary unit, and AFSCME, Local 829. Any further questions or comments from the council? Seeing none. Roll call vote. City Councilmember Combs.
Yes.
City Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
City Councilmember Schmidt.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Nash.
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. The third and final regular business item is K3, approve fiscal year 2026-2027 budget principles. Here to introduce the item is Assistant Administrative Services Director Finny Lay.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present the fiscal year 26-27 budget principles. Tonight, staff is recommending several updates and additions to the budget principles to better position the city for long-term fiscal sustainability. These refinements are intended to strengthen our financial framework, enhance flexibility in addressing future challenges, and ensure that resources are aligned with Council's priorities and community needs. As part of the effort, I will also walk through an updated 5-year forecast, which provides important context for these proposed changes and highlights the city's projected financial outlook. Tonight, we'll cover 4 key topics. First, the budget principles, where we will review proposed updates and additions that guide the city's financial decisions. Next, we'll transition to the 5-year forecast, highlighting any updates since the previous council workshop. Then we'll discuss the budget development calendar, which outlines a timeline for preparation, review, and public engagement leading up to the adoption. Finally, we'll talk about the council approval and direction staff is seeking. Staff is presenting these proposed budget principles for fiscal year 26-27 to ensure that the proposed budget reflects the city's council's foundational budget values. In summary, the principles focus on 3 key areas: promoting the city's long-term fiscal sustainability, providing city services and infrastructure that support quality of life, and effectively managing revenue sources and grant accounting. These principles serve as a foundation for guiding budget decisions throughout the fiscal year and budget process. Before we move into changes to the budget principles, I want to briefly highlight the city's user fee cost recovery policy, which is referenced in Principle 1C and is being proposed for refinement. The city's cost recovery policy is grounded in equity and community benefit. Fees are set based on who benefit from a service, with greater subsidy for services that provide broad community value and benefit, and higher cost recovery expected for services that primarily benefit individual private users. The city applies 3 general tiers of cost recovery: low, mid, high, ranging from 0 to 100%, and also uses pricing as a policy tool to support access, affordability, and desired outcomes. The framework also supports regular incremental fee updates tied to key cost drivers, such as Consumer Price Index, CPI, and personnel cost escalations, helping maintain stable cost recovery and avoiding larger, less predictable increases. All proposed fees are developed guided by this policy and generally align with established cost recovery targets, with few exceptions that primarily fall below target ranges. We will discuss proposed fees in more detail on April 28th. The first proposed change is to Principle 1A. Staff is recommending a shift from the original strategy of targeting a 15-year amortization schedule toward using the strategic pension reserve, using that as a rate stabilization tool. Under this approach, the city would continue to make meaningful progress in reducing our unfunded accrued liability, or UAL, while also gaining liquidity and flexibility to smooth contribution rates over time. This is particularly important in years when CalPERS experiences lower than expected investment returns, which can lead to increased required contributions in subsequent years. This update in 1C supports the City Council's cost recovery goals for fee-based services we just talked about by allowing for annual fee adjustments. It provides flexibility to align fees with key cost drivers, CPI, personnel costs, and other relevant indices. By making smaller, regular updates, this approach helps maintain consistent cost recovery and creates a more predictable and transparent process for the council and the public. The update for 1G refines the principle to focus more directly on addressing the city's structural imbalance. The revised language emphasizes taking both immediate and ongoing actions to stabilize the general fund reserve. This proposed addition 1H reinforces the city's commitment to prioritizing essential and legally mandated services. It also establishes an ongoing process to regularly evaluate and assess other programs to ensure that they remain aligned with council priorities, service expectations, and city's fiscal capacity. Overall, this helps ensure the limited resources are allocated strategically and remain responsive to changing needs and environment. Moving on to number 2, there are minor updates to Principle 2C and 2D, primarily to streamline and clarify the language while keeping the underlying content unchanged. The revision to 2C simplifies the wording, and the update to 2D refines the description of one-time revenue use, more clearly emphasizing prioritization of investments that support long-term financial sustainability while enhancing community quality of life. Another minor update here to simplify the wording. We have several substantive updates to Section 3. The intent of this update to Principle 3B is to strengthen our fiscal discipline in capital project budgeting. The revised language limits appropriations to projects with secured funding and ensures that they do not exceed available resources, addressing the misalignment issue we discussed during the council workshop with our CIP funds. It also allows for adjustments if funding is reduced, helping the city avoid overcommitting and maintain a balanced, sustainable capital program. The update for 3C refines the existing principle to place greater emphasis on maintaining structural balance across all funds. The revised language prioritizes the adoption of balanced budgets to preserve fiscal integrity. It also clarifies that the use of fund balance is only allowed to the extent that year-end fund balances remain positive, reinforcing prudent financial management and long-term stability. The proposed addition in 3D establishes a clear guideline for the use of one-time revenues. It specifies that these resources should be used for one-time expenditures and not ongoing commitments. The intent is to reduce the risk of creating or worsening the structural deficits and to support more sustainable long-term financial planning. We just discussed the importance of addressing the city's structural imbalance in Principle 1G. The updated 5-year forecast helps put that into perspective. These forecast assumptions include a few key updates since the council workshop. First, the vehicle license fee or VLF backfill has been revised to 0 beginning in fiscal year 26-27 due to the governor's latest budget and in the out years as well, resulting in a revenue decrease of approximately $1.9 million for 26-27 alone and $14.4 million decrease across the next 5 years. This is partially offset by increases in other areas, including a $0.8 million increase in transient occupancy tax or TOT to reflect current trends and a $500,000 increase in license permits and other revenues. Overall, these adjustments net to a decrease of $0.6 million, and they reflect updated revenue expectations based on the most current information available. So you can see here the average structural deficit has increased since we last saw this presentation by approximately $1.4 million, primarily due to the revision of the VLF backfill. This also reflects the VLF shortfall beginning to ramp up in fiscal year 27-28. So now the structural deficit is about 9.4. This slide here links the forecast to one of our balancing strategies for addressing the structural deficit. implementing the proposed fee adjustments. If the recommended adjustments are implemented fully, they are expected to generate approximately $4 million in additional revenue, assuming activity levels remain stable. This would meaningfully reduce the structural gap and improve overall fiscal stability for the city. While additional corrective actions would still be necessary to reach a balanced budget, the scale of those actions would be significantly smaller. Taking a look at our budget development calendar, tonight on April 14th, City Council reviews and approves the budget principles, update on the capital improvement plan. April 28th, we have the master fee schedule public hearing and adoption, along with City Council workshop final report review. May 20th, budget portal opens to the public. May 28th, public budget workshop. June 9th, we have the budget public hearing, and on June 23rd, budget adoption. Staff tonight recommends that the City Council approve the fiscal year 2026-27 budget principles. These principles provide the policy framework that will guide development of the upcoming budget and support the city's overall financial stability. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time. Happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. City Clerk Karen, let's call for public comment.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on regular business item K3, the approval of fiscal year 2026-27 budget principles, if you are in person, return that speaker card. Virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, press *9 now. Final call for public comment on regular business item K3. Seeing no hands or cards, Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. I would now like to open for City Council questions and discussion. Would anyone like to start? Councilmember Schmidt.
I'm happy to start. Thanks for preparing this. Always useful to see these. I think, well, I have a question for staff, and then I have a point for my fellow council members. If we were, so I understand developing the budget principles is part of the process. If, because of the way the budget's starting to shape up in the economic situation, if we wanted to see maybe more frequent updates, not a big presentation, but even just informational things in the packets, similar to like what we see with electrification and everything, just so we have a steadier finger on the pulse of how we're doing. Is that a relatively easy thing for staff to do? I'm not saying every packet, but a little more frequently, just helping us keep our finger on the pulse of where we are relative to budget. And would that be something we would put in the budget principles, or would we do that a different way?
That's a great question. We can definitely explore that. We could incorporate it in the budget principle as a way to do it quarterly or do it bi-monthly, something like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'd leave it up to you to decide what doesn't add a burden, but I know when budgets are tighter, I always just like to have better visibility, even if it's not a full presentation. I think I like these principles. I'm very inclined to support them. I would ask my fellow council members to consider supporting kind of 3 additional guardrails as I've read through these, which I hope will also be easier for staff to implement. The first one is on the promoting the city's long-term fiscal sustainability, and there were 8 pieces of that. So those are the trade-offs that you make when you're trying to decide where to cut or where to keep and all that. And so I'd actually like to see 2 tiers on those 8 items. And I'll give you a really quick example of what I mean. I'd like to see something like addressing the city's item G, addressing the city's structural imbalance between revenues and expenditures. I'd like to see that tier 1. I think that's important, that if you have to make a trade-off between that versus maybe a tier 2 item is invest in technologies that minimize low value. That's an IT investment. So I'm happy to give you, I think A and B feel like tier 2 to me. I'd hope you'd rank those a little bit lower than items C and D, which feel like tier 1, really important, like making sure we recover cost of service, things like that. I look at E and F as tier 2. I understand we need to keep staff and managing institutional knowledge, but that doesn't feel nearly as important to me as the structural imbalance. So I think I'd love to see tier 1s and tier 2s so that we have 4 clear absolute priorities and 4 secondary priorities when you're having to make those trade-offs. Second guardrail, I hope, is super simple. On item A, for providing the city services, I still feel really uncomfortable sometimes. Says implement ordinances and city council adopted initiatives to contribute to the quality of life. I'd actually like to see a running impact of council decisions, and I've mentioned this to the city manager as well. You know, I get uncomfortable when we're going to allocate $1 million, and then over here we do $2 million, and then 2.2, and you know, I think I'm asking. I don't want to accidentally make our deficit worse because we're not keeping a running total of the tally of impact that we're, you know, promoting from up here on the dais. So I just like to see some mechanism where we have visibility into our cumulative impact as council members. Because if we're approaching the $1 million mark in a structural deficit kind of an environment, I want to know we need to start putting some fiscally responsible guardrails on our pontification kind of stuff. And I'm just as bad as anybody. So I'd love to just see that as a potential guardrail. And then the third is the strategically identify and align financial resources to implement city council identify top goals. I'd actually put comma with regular reporting on progress. I think this goes back to our workshop where we were trying to suss out and determine, okay, well, if you're a city priority, what do you get? You get extra visibility, do you get extra budget? And if you're just a core service, what do you get? So if we are starting to align financial resources to what we identified as our city priorities, I'd just like to see a little bit of reporting on what does that look like? You know, public safety got an extra $1 million, or, you know, I just want a little more visibility into financial ties to city priorities. So those are the 3 guardrails I'm hoping that my fellow council members would potentially be supportive of just slightly modifying the budget principles. And happy to talk about any of those.
Let me talk about the first one that you were talking about. And actually, City Clerk Karen, could we have the slide? I think you did a fabulous job. Staff did a fabulous job with these budget principles. What I would like to see, which is along what you were talking about, is I actually just listing them. I wasn't having tier 1 and tier 2, but listing them, and it sounds like we came out with this pretty much the same area, having these in a different order. So I don't know that I would get, I guess I'd be curious. Well, actually, first of all, it's on the screen. Just the items are identical, just in a different order. And I'm wondering if there's support for that. And then beyond that, I'm curious what your reaction is to having a tier 1 and tier 2 and how that would make a difference as opposed to just having all of these listed.
Yes, I would say right now the principles have been added to, have grown over time, and they're not reflected in a particular order under each of the headings. So it sounds like at least 2 of the council members support reordering those so that the priority is clearer. So I think if we could have your direction, if this new order is in alignment with Councilmember Schmidt's feedback and how the others are feeling, we could certainly implement that.
I will, let me just interrupt for a second. And that's, I was not seeing this as an necessarily a priority order. I just think it's something when presented to the public, presented even to council, that it's makes more sense. Although I will then say that I think it is somewhat in priority order.
Ironically,
and
it's perfect, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if it would be an official priority or not, but I was seeing more that it's something that really describes these these priorities, I'm sorry, these items, items in just a more digestible way. Thank you.
Just to add on, it is, remarkably, the four you chose, I don't think it needs to be in linear order, but I think the top four would be the things that I would hope you would look at first as you're making decisions, and then go to the bottom for things like IT investments and all that. So I don't mean it to be rigid. I mean it to be more like a guardrail to say, like, look at the top four first, because those feel, at least to me, the four most important. Happy to debate that, but it's just a way, because 8 things and trying to make trade-offs between 8 things is very different than kind of one chunk versus another chunk.
Having said that, having been on council for almost 8 years now, the strategic pension reserve has a huge impact on our financial sustainability, or fiscal sustainability. So I don't know that I'd want it to be a second tier, but just in presenting it, I put it down further.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But I don't know that I'd really want to have priorities at this point. Maybe at a later date, if we continue, we might do priorities, but I think at this point, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with priorities. And certainly some of them, like manage the loss of institutional knowledge, is super important.
But how do you, I mean, so
But
I don't
yeah,
get into
how
a
did
big
that
debate.
become-
How do you evaluate that versus like having to cut in a different area where we're eliminating a course? Or so
I
I'm
agree.
curious, like, how do you?
I agree.
I agree. These are all, it's the typical priority setting thing, is like everything is important and then nothing is important, right? So I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I actually like those two things as well. But how do you use these to make decisions then? If you've got 8 things and you've got to make trade-offs, I know there's an art and science to it, but like, do you kind of gravitate
That's where
to?
council comes in with policies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd like to see 4 of them be maybe a little more important than 4 more, or however that's why I'm raising the question is, every priority in the world turns into no priority at all. So
Councilmember Wise. Excuse me, Vice Mayor Wise.
It's okay. Does staff feel like they need priorities, or like, I understand it is a lot to balance and a lot to look at. Do you guys feel like having priorities or like a tier 1, tier 2 would be helpful, or are you comfortable with this order?
I think staff is comfortable with what the way that it's laid out now, and reordering them. All of the principles will factor into how the budget is prepared. They're all seen as important by staff. And so we can certainly reorder just to help it be more digestible as folks are reading it.
You'd be happy with just leaving it without?
Yeah, I would be happy with leaving it as with this new suggested order. I do understand like the idea behind like the tier 1, tier 2, but I don't know, it doesn't sound like it would actually do much in practice either. So I'm just happy with the suggested order. I don't want to overcomplicate either.
Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Nash. And I'm comfortable with what you've presented, if the rest of the council agrees. Thank you.
Councilmember Combs, any thoughts?
Thank you, Mayor Nash. And so making sure I understand and have full context, has historically staff given any deference to the actual order or listing of these principles?
No.
No. Like, so then this ordering in this specific way would be a new framing. Like, right, so it's not a reordering, it's a reordering with the idea of adding a degree of prioritization. And so that would be a change. I just want to make sure like I'm aligned with or my understanding of the scenario we're in right now is that.
I actually would say I was not intending this to be a priority order. It was, all of these still carry equal priority, but it's a more, it's a order that if a member of the public or someone else picks up this document, I think that to see G as the first one rather than almost the last one makes sense. The address the city's structural imbalance between revenues and expenditures through immediate and ongoing actions to stabilize the general fund, rather than seeing the first thing is fund the strategic pension reserve. My understanding is these were just sort of added as things changed historically, and that there was no order there. And I found that it was much easier for me to understand and digest when I saw it in this order, but it was not meant to have a prioritization.
But what I'm trying to understand then how was it easier? Again, for me, it's a little confusing because Councilmember Schmidt did talk about sort of a tiering, and he's like, oh, the top four here mirrors to some degree the tiering system. And you're saying there's no priority like that should be this should be attached to the listing, but that it read better, and
Well,
that you didn't want like sort of any misconceptions. It seems like if there was some concern about misconceptions, then we would make clear that like these are not listed in any order of prioritization. That all of the principles are equally weighted, making sure that that was called out versus like arranging the list in a way that we say is not a prioritization, but reads better, but then does align with another council member's actual desire to prioritize the list. And so if I'm the public, I'm a little confused as to what council is doing in this moment. And that's all to say, like, I have no objection to changing the listing, but it could seem as though we are adding a prioritization layer to this and not wanting to call that out. And so that I think is what concerns me a bit more.
Thank you. It has not been prioritized because each item has not been evaluated as to how it impacts the fiscal sustainability, which is what I think we would want to do if we were to prioritize it.
If I may, Mayor Nash,
please.
Perhaps a way we could look at it is putting towards the top the items that are affecting the city's budget more broadly. And then we have a funnel as we get more narrow in scope as we go down the list. So speaking about the structural imbalance, which impacts every financial decision we're putting forward, getting narrowed down to the strategic pension fund, which is one part of our reserve bucket. So maybe we could look at it with that lens and revise the order from that perspective.
That works for me.
And are we being transparent and saying that this is the way we're ordering it?
We could explicitly add that to the top of the rationale that we use to place the order.
Yeah. I mean, my preference would be like if we're changing the listing in some way different than how it has appeared, which is somewhat random, based on legacy, then yeah, I think we should be transparent about like what is the what are the principles we're using to do the reordering of the principles, or at least some explanation of sorts. I will say though, I don't know that I completely understand like the value of that ordering, but I say this to reiterate that I don't have any objection other than we should be very clear to the public what we're doing.
I'll just weigh in. I mean, since I brought it up, I think it's a good discussion. I am okay if we don't do a tiering thing. I think what we're implying is a trust in you guys on staff, which I feel totally comfortable with. But I like the fact that you said the first order filter we're going to apply is letter A here, addressing the structural imbalance. Because I'd rather that always be your first filter than are we investing in the technologies to always improve? Like that's something that could be deferred. And so I appreciate Councilmember Combs saying, like, let's debate the order. I'm actually okay trusting the process a little bit. But what I was trying to suggest with the guardrail was there are a few of these that I would always like to be a top filter before we dive into some of the more specific things. So I like the breadth thing that you mentioned because it feels like it's going to create the right kind of I can't say prioritization, the right approach, the right order to kind of look at things in. Now, I don't think we should go as far as weighting it necessarily. If everybody feels uncomfortable with that, that's fine. But I definitely want to make sure item A is, if not the first lens you look through, at least number one or number two. So that's what I'm trying to put my thumb on the scale for. So.
And I would just add, by the very nature, that becomes a prioritization, unless that is how staff has done it before. Currently, like, right, if you say like the first thing, so then we are back to the listing actually has some value, a prioritization, if you say it's the first filter, and that's I'm not saying let's debate the issue. I'm saying let's be transparent about what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't care what we call it. Yeah, I mean, whatever we call it, I think we're maybe coalescing on agreement that first one's pretty important.
And so it's not what we call it; it's what we're doing, which is we're making it a priority among this list, which is not how staff has approached these principles in the past. So again, I'm saying let's call what we're doing.
Does staff want to make, I mean, I trust staff to take this and do whatever you think is needed to it. I think the items on this list are excellent. You've done a really good job sort of filtering it and making and going through all of the different pieces. And I trust that, you will work appropriately with this. So with city manager.
Yeah, I would just like to make sure we've got common understanding across all of us. Does that mean leaving, I'll say, reflecting these in the order as currently shown on the screen and being explicit that there's no order, no priority order to all three, group 1, group 2, and group 3, like as well? Or are we focused just on one? Because I do want to make sure that we can leave this evening with common understanding and kind of wrap up the budget principle aspect tonight so that we can start working on the budget. Alternatively, we'll have to have a revision that comes back to the council. So because I think if it's being explicit for the council and the community and staff that these are not reflective of a priority order, or if there is a desire for a reflection of a priority order, I think it's probably best for it to be stated. So I just wanted to double check on that. And again, there's a difference between this moment that we're in this particular year with this tight timeline that we're under versus how things may evolve from year to year. Because as has been reflected this evening in previous tenure on the city council, it changes from year to year. And this is an opportunity to kind of take a fresh look at it. And so part of it was the changes that staff presented. So I think we're good on the content of a lot of the principles. I haven't heard anybody critiquing or wordsmithing the content. So if it is this issue of how it's presented in all three buckets, be good to have common understanding before we leave tonight and not have it be something that staff needs to follow up on. Or ask staff to follow up on that and we'll come back on the meeting of the 28th. Like I totally appreciate and honor that. I don't want to leave this evening and then come forward with a budget at that first June meeting and then have questions about why it was done a certain way.
So the three buckets are promote the city's long-term fiscal sustainability. 2 is provide city services and infrastructure that contribute to the quality of life in Menlo Park. And 3 is manage revenue sources and grant accounting. I was not thinking of those 3 as a priority. So I guess I'm looking to staff if that is something that you're looking for. I mean, is that something that's helpful or?
I'm just confirming that even those 1, 2, and 3 are not a reflection of a priority order.
I would agree with that. Is there?
I wasn't even I was only looking at bucket 1.
Great. And then within
Thank
1,
you.
I just want to be clear because I think it might then just be helpful because we have had some confusion when members of the public see things listed in alphabetical order. They perceive that as a rank order, things like that.
So maybe they're bullets rather than a number or a letter. Yeah. And I will say that I did not try to look critically at 2 and 3. I just thought that they read fine, so I didn't try to reorder them at all. I don't know if, looking at them now, I think we could. I don't know if it's worth it. To me, the only one that really popped out that needed reordering was the 1, but would that be? I guess I'm looking to the city manager if that's, if they are truly not a priority, is there a point in readjusting any of the others?
Any of the others, meaning
2 and 3.
2 and 3. At this point in time, no. I think focusing on this kind of, I do believe that this sort of relisting of things for readability. I am a believer of that. You saw that in a number of these. We're trying to be crisper with word choice and everything. So I do think there's a benefit of a little bit better flow, but then just being explicit that we're not collectively, ultimately these are, I think, council adopted budget principles, correct? That they're not a reflection of a priority order. I think actually stating that is helpful. Unless next council wants to go through the exercise of creating the priority order, which I think it just is an investment in time.
I guess my opinion is that you have, I think you brought a really good point out that if you have numbers or letters that indicates priority. So maybe trying to use bullets or something beyond that, perhaps even between the 3 top messages. But I think I certainly do not see this in any priority order and don't. Okay. And I think it would be worthwhile saying that explicitly. Any other thoughts? Councilmember Schmidt?
I'm okay. I mean, I feel like the 2 things that are causing me agita are in bucket, are we calling them buckets? Category 1, bucket 1. The A is not equal to G, the technology. So I think all I was trying to poke at was, I think what our staff said, which is every decision's filtered through bucket 1A because we're going into a structural deficit mode. So that was the main reason for pointing it out, was everything's filtered through that. And whether we call it a priority, I don't care what we call it, but it's just being kind of fiscally careful to make sure that's the lens that we're looking at pretty much everything through. So that's the reason I brought up the point.
Going back to another comment that you made, which was having a regular information item. I think that I would support that. I would leave it to staff as to what's reasonable as far as balancing the workload versus the information received. I certainly think not more often than quarterly. And I don't know if it would be a budget principle or just something. Yeah, I think that's better since, yes, thank you. Vice Mayor Schmidt, Vice Mayor Watts.
Okay. I just want to express my support as well that, I don't see these as priorities and I would be happy to see them relisted as bullets. So then that's more clear to the public and to us. And I also agree it would be really lovely to get those budget informational items. And yes, and quarterly or whatever staff deems is not burdensome.
Any other comments? Councilmember Combs, anything?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. And you need a motion and a second on this, I believe. Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
I'll second. Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor by Vice Mayor Wise and a second by City Council Member Taylor to approve budget principles for fiscal year 2026-2027. Any further City Council question or discussion?
I actually want to confirm with staff that you have what you need.
Yes, we will update the items listed on the budget principles to bullets to help emphasize that they're not in a particular order. We will relist them based on what was shown on the screen for the bullets under number 1. And we will plan to return to City Council with not more than quarterly, but more frequent than current practice for regular budget updates.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote. City Council Member Combs?
Yes.
City Council Member Taylor?
Yes.
City Council Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Nash?
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Informational items. Informational items are transmitted to the City Council in staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance to the City Council. Informational items are not action items. However, a City Council member, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. City Clerk Karen, do we have any public comments on the informational items?
Thank you, Mayor Nash. This time, if any member of the public wishes to provide comment on our informational items, L1, City Council agenda topics, L2, an update for the 2025-26 capital improvement plan. If you are in person, return that speaker card. Virtual, engage that hand feature. Calling in, please press *9 now. This will be the final call for public comment on our informational items L1 and L2. And seeing none, Mayor Nash, you may continue.
Thank you. Is there any discussion about informational items? All right. Then we will go to the City Manager report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I've got 2 updates this evening. One is related to the community open house for the 3 development teams that submitted proposals for the development on the downtown parking plazas 1, 2, and 3. It's tentatively scheduled for Thursday, May 7th. Community members will be able to learn more about the proposals by visiting stations staffed by each of the development teams. We will advertise more information through our communication channels and webpage at menlopark.gov/downtown development. So that tentative date is Thursday, May 7th. And then the second update is to recognize a milestone with the Willow 101 project. The Willow 101 interchange landscaping project is officially out to bid. The San Mateo County Transportation Authority has set aside $3.5 million for this project. Construction is planned for the summer, assuming that we get good bids, and will take approximately 1 year, followed by a 3-year plant establishment period. You can find more information about this project at menlopark.gov/Willow 101. Those are 2 updates for this evening. Thank you.
That's wonderful news. Thank you so much. City Council member reports. Any reports from City Council members since the March 24th meeting? Councilmember Schmidt.
I just want to sort of close the circle from our interviews earlier, our discussion. Had a chance to attend the Planning Commission meeting last night. The ADU topic was on the agenda. I just want to express my appreciation to Planning Commission and staff for what was a really healthy discussion and a lot of hard work on that topic. I just would recommend if you're feeling brave, it was a 5-hour meeting, and I'd recommend taking a look at some of the outcomes and some of the efforts of that group to really put something forward to us that I think is going to be a meaty topic and discussion. So just wanted to express my appreciation for that group, staff and commission last night doing the hard work to put something forward to us that I think will have a lot of substance. So thanks.
Thank you. I have a couple reports. First of all, at the PCE meeting on March 26th, PCE now has a heat pump water heater temporary incentive, which is temporarily from April 1st through May 31st. There's a $500 increase for the heat pump water heater rebate in coordination with the Silicon Valley Clean Energy and San Jose Clean Energy. So residents can receive up to $4,000 when upgrading to a heat pump water heater between April 1st and May 31st. And along with that, we had a lot of discussion about the PCE energy rate and the program affordability overviews, which seems to be as is appropriate, the hot topic in all of the meetings that I'm going to these days. And then I also wanted to show, we had Councilmember Schmidt, Sustainability Manager, who I thought was here, Rachel Launder, and I were at the San Mateo County Sustainability Awards, and wanted to show what we got. A wonderful tape as part of the award. So it was really an amazing event. And Menlo Park got the Green Cities Award. And I have actually, I won't go into what the Green Cities Award was. It's been in the Weekly Digest. Also, there was, anyway, it was a wonderful, wonderful event. And Ms. Launder did an excellent job of gave a great speech accepting the award. And it was really fun. Also, Councilmember Combs, Vice Mayor Wise, and I met with, had lunch with Jerry Hanley from Galway with the Sister Cities group, which was really a wonderful, wonderful time to meet a Galway colleague, and mentioning the VLF event that Councilmember Schmidt, Vice Mayor Wise, and I, as well as, actually I lost my piece of paper that had all the staff there, but there was a lot of staff there who were, anyway, it was a great event, and hopefully it will make a difference. So thank you. Any other reports? All right. With that, we will adjourn. Thank you.